Do you know the most common excuse people give when they don't chase their dreams? I'm too young, or I'm too old. But let me tell you something today. Success has no age. Whether you are 18 or 80, the greatest investment you can ever make is in yourself. The only question is not when will you start, but will you start? Success is timeless because it does not depend on the number of candles on your birthday cake, but on the fire that burns in your heart. People often limit themselves by saying, I am too young to be taken seriously, or I am too old to start again. But history has shown us time and again that age is only a number, not a boundary. Look at the young inventors who dared to dream before they even finished school, and look at the leaders, authors, and creators who began their greatest work after retirement. Success has no age because success is the result of persistence, learning, and the courage to take action when others hesitate. Every sunrise gives you another chance to rewrite your story. Whether you are at the beginning of your journey or far along the path, what matters is not how long you've lived, but how deeply you've lived, how willing you are to invest in yourself, and how ready you are to step forward. The world does not ask how old you are, it asks what value you bring, what difference you make, and what legacy you will leave behind. That is why success is truly timeless. It is written not in the years of your life, but in the life of your years. Youth is not a requirement because greatness is not confined to a particular season of life. We live in a world where people glorify being young, as if it is the only time when dreams can be pursued and mountains can be climbed. But the truth is, the timeline of success is as unique as the individual. There are those who, at the age of 20, already make an impact, leading movements, starting businesses, or creating art that inspires millions. At the same time, there are others who bloom later, who perhaps spend their early years learning, struggling, failing, and preparing, only to discover their purpose at 40, 50, or even 70. Youth may give you energy, but age gives you experience, and both have value when channeled in the right direction. Some people waste their youth in procrastination and excuses, while some in their later years achieve more in a decade than they ever imagined possible. The point is, life is not a race against someone else's clock. It is a journey of becoming the best version of yourself at your own pace. Do not measure your worth by comparing your chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 20. Instead, recognize that as long as you are breathing, as long as you are willing to learn and take steps forward, you are capable of success. The world does not care when you start, it only celebrates that you did start. Whether you are young or old, your true power lies not in your age, but in your willingness to move, to grow, and to act. Lifelong learning is one of the most powerful secrets to success, because the moment you stop learning, you stop growing, and when you stop growing, you begin to decline. Many people mistakenly believe that education ends when school or college is finished, but real education begins when life starts testing you outside the classroom. Every single experience, whether joyful or painful, carries a lesson within it. The truly successful people are not those who think they already know everything, but those who remain humble enough to admit that there is always something new to learn. Reading books, listening to mentors, observing the mistakes of others, reflecting on your own journey, These are all ways to keep your mind sharp and your spirit alive. Knowledge is like water. If it flows continuously, it stays fresh, but if it stagnates, it becomes unusable. In the same way, our minds must be constantly refreshed with new insights, new perspectives, and new wisdom. When you dedicate yourself to lifelong learning, you become adaptable because the world is always changing. Technology evolves, industries shift, and opportunities emerge in unexpected places. Only those who keep learning can adjust and thrive in these changes. Moreover, learning is not just about professional growth. It deepens you as a human being. It makes you wiser in relationships, stronger in adversity, and more grateful in moments of abundance. A person who learns daily is like a tree that grows new roots and branches year after year, becoming more stable and more fruitful. Success is not about reaching a final destination, but about continuously becoming a better version of yourself. And that is only possible through lifelong learning. Daily habits matter more than the grand achievements we often admire, because those big milestones are only the visible outcome of small, repeated actions that often go unnoticed. Success is not built in a single day, it is built day by day, brick by brick, through consistency in what we do. Think of a sculptor carving a statue. Each strike of the chisel may seem small and insignificant, but together they shape a masterpiece. In the same way, the small choices you make every morning, the routines you commit to, and the discipline you build in your everyday life determine the person you eventually become. Reading a few pages of a book daily may not seem like much, but after a year, you will have absorbed the wisdom of several volumes. Exercising for 30 minutes a day may feel ordinary, but over time it builds health and energy that fuel your ambitions. Even practicing gratitude for a few minutes every night can slowly rewire your mind to focus on positivity rather than negativity. The power of daily habits lies in their compounding effect. What looks like tiny steps today becomes extraordinary progress tomorrow. On the other hand, neglecting these small habits also compounds. Procrastination, carelessness, and indiscipline accumulate quietly until they become obstacles too heavy to move. That is why working on yourself daily is not optional if you desire long-term success. The habits you practice shape your identity, and your identity drives your destiny. Successful people are not those who rely on bursts of inspiration once in a while. They are those who build systems and routines that keep them moving forward, even on the days they don't feel motivated. If you want to transform your future, stop waiting for big breakthroughs and start mastering your small daily habits, because in them lies the quiet power that creates extraordinary. Discipline over motivation is the golden rule that separates dreamers from doers, because motivation is like a spark. It lights you up for a moment, but discipline is the steady flame that keeps you going when the spark fades. Many people wait to feel motivated before they act, but the truth is, motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes depending on your mood, your environment, or the circumstances of the day. Some mornings you wake up inspired, ready to conquer the world, but on other days you wake up tired, discouraged, or overwhelmed. If your progress depends on waiting for motivation, you will never build consistency, and without consistency, success cannot be achieved. Discipline, on the other hand, is the commitment to show up even when you don't feel like it. It is the ability to push yourself to do what needs to be done, regardless of your emotions in the moment. Think of athletes who train before sunrise, even when they would rather sleep. Musicians who practice for hours, even when no one is listening. Entrepreneurs who keep working on their vision, even when success feels far away. What drives them is not fleeting motivation, but a disciplined routine that keeps them aligned with their goals. Discipline builds habits, and habits shape character, and character ultimately creates destiny. It is discipline that makes you read when you want to scroll, exercise when you want to rest, save when you want to spend, and speak wisely when you want to react. Every act of discipline strengthens your self-control, and every time you win over your laziness, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more. In the long run, discipline even creates its own form of motivation, because nothing feels more motivating than seeing real progress. Success does not belong to those who wait for the perfect mood or moment. It belongs to those who act consistently, led not by feelings, but by the discipline to keep moving forward. Mindset is the key because it is the foundation upon which every achievement in life is built. You can have all the skills, resources, and opportunities in the world, but if your mind is filled with doubt, fear, and negativity, you will sabotage yourself before you even begin. On the other hand, even if you start with nothing, a strong and positive mindset can lift you from the lowest place to the highest heights. The way you think shapes the way you act, and the way you act shapes the results you experience. If your mindset tells you that challenges are obstacles meant to break you, you will run away from them. But if your mindset tells you that challenges are opportunities to grow, you will face them with courage and creativity. Your mind is like the soil in which the seeds of your life are planted. If the soil is healthy, even small seeds grow into mighty trees. But if the soil is poisoned by negative thinking, even the best seeds will wither. People often underestimate the power of thoughts, yet every invention, every breakthrough, every movement that changed the world started as a thought in someone's mind. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. This is why cultivating a resilient, grateful, and solution-oriented mindset is so essential. Life will not spare anyone from difficulties, losses, or disappointments, but the difference between those who rise and those who fall lies in how they perceive those experiences. A person with a weak mindset sees failure as the end, while a person with a strong mindset sees it as feedback. A person with a weak mindset complains about problems, while a person with a strong mindset looks for possibilities hidden within those problems. Training your mind is not an overnight task. It is a daily practice of choosing faith over fear, gratitude over grumbling, hope over despair. When your mind believes you can, your body finds the strength to follow. When your mind is determined, circumstances lose their power to stop you. The right mindset does not remove the storms of life, but it gives you the anchor to stand firm through them. That is why mindset is not just important, it is the very key that unlocks every door to success. Failure is feedback because every setback carries within it a lesson that success can never teach. Most people fear failure as if it is the end of the road, but in truth, it is simply a bend in the journey, a redirection towards something greater. When you fail, life is not punishing you, it is educating you. Every mistake reveals what doesn't work, every rejection points you closer to the right door, and every defeat sharpens your character and builds your resilience. Think about a child learning to walk. They fall again and again, yet they do not call themselves a failure. Each fall strengthens their legs and teaches them balance until walking becomes natural. Why then, as adults, do we fear falling when it is the very process that strengthens us? The greatest inventors, leaders, and visionaries were people who embraced failure not as a permanent identity, but as temporary feedback. Thomas Edison famously said, he did not fail 1,000 times, but discovered 1,000 ways that would not work until he finally found the way that did. Failure is the greatest teacher because it forces you to reflect, to adjust, and to innovate. Success often makes us comfortable, but failure keeps us humble and hungry. It breaks our pride, removes illusions, and demands that we grow beyond our limits. The pain of failure is real, but it is also purposeful if you allow it to refine you instead of define you. Those who run away from failure run away from growth, but those who face it and learn from it are the ones who eventually succeed. Every time you fail, ask yourself, what is this teaching me? How can I use this to become stronger, wiser, and better prepared? If you adopt this attitude, you will realize that failure is not the opposite of success. It is an essential part of the journey toward it. Without failure, there is no depth to achievement, no strength to character, and no wisdom to share. When you stop fearing failure and start using it as feedback, you unlock a powerful force that propels you forward, closer to the life you dream. Health is wealth, because no matter how many dreams you have, how much money you earn, or how much success you achieve, none of it can be enjoyed without a healthy body and mind to sustain it. We live in a time where people chase goals relentlessly, sacrificing sleep, ignoring nutrition, and pushing their bodies to exhaustion, only to realize later that without health, everything else loses its meaning. You can build an empire, but if your body collapses under stress, you will not be able to enjoy it. You can accumulate riches, but if your mind is filled with anxiety and fatigue, no amount of wealth will bring you peace. True success is not just about what you accomplish externally, it is also about how balanced and whole you remain internally. Taking care of your health is not a distraction from your goals, it is the fuel that makes achieving them possible. A strong body gives you energy, and a calm mind gives you clarity. Together, they create the foundation upon which discipline, creativity, and resilience can thrive. Think of your body as a vehicle. No matter how beautiful the destination, if the vehicle breaks down, you will never get there. Simple habits like eating nourishing food, exercising regularly, maintaining proper sleep, and practicing mindfulness or prayer are not luxuries. They are necessities. They are investments that multiply over time, giving you the strength to keep going when life gets demanding. Moreover, health is not only physical but also emotional and spiritual. Carrying bitterness, stress, or resentment is just as damaging as poor diet or lack of exercise. Releasing negativity and cultivating peace is just as important as lifting weights or running miles. A truly wealthy person is not the one with the most possessions, but the one who wakes up with energy, works with focus, and rests with peace. Neglecting health for success is like cutting the very roots of a tree in hopes of growing taller. Eventually, the entire tree collapses. But when you prioritize your well-being, every other area of life flourishes naturally. That is why health is wealth. It is the invisible currency that makes all visible achievements meaningful and enjoyable. Surroundings shape you because the people you spend time with, the conversations you listen to, and the environment you choose to live in quietly mold your thoughts, your actions, and eventually your destiny. Human beings are deeply influenced by the energy around them, often without even realizing it. If you surround yourself with people who constantly complain, criticize, and doubt, slowly their negativity seeps into your own heart, making you believe that dreams are impossible and growth is pointless. On the other hand, if you are in the company of people who encourage, inspire, and push you toward excellence, you will find yourself rising higher than you thought possible. Just like a plant grows differently depending on whether it is placed in sunlight or in shade, you too are shaped by the environment you place yourself in. Surroundings are not limited to people alone. They also include the books you read, the content you consume, and the atmosphere of your daily life. If you fill your mind with shallow distractions and toxic influences, you weaken your ability to focus and grow. But if you fill your mind with wisdom, knowledge, and positive ideas, you strengthen your inner world and naturally begin to act in alignment with success. Many times, people underestimate this truth and believe they can remain unaffected by their surroundings, but the reality is that even strong minds are eventually influenced by the company they keep. This is why mentors, teachers, and uplifting friends are invaluable, because their presence plants seeds of growth in your soul. Choosing your surroundings carefully is not selfish. It is essential for survival and success. Sometimes you may have to distance yourself from people who drain your energy, not because you hate them, but because you value your peace and potential. At the same time, you should intentionally seek out people who are wiser than you, kinder than you, and more disciplined than you, because their example will raise your standards. The truth is, you cannot control every situation in life, but you can control where you place yourself and who you allow into your circle. Your surroundings act like mirrors. They reflect back to you who you are becoming. If you wish to grow into greatness, then choose an environment that nourishes greatness. Over time, the company you keep and the atmosphere you build will silently but powerfully shape the person you turn into. Purpose over pressure is the principle that allows people to live deeply fulfilling lives rather than constantly running in circles, trying to meet expectations that were never truly their own. Many individuals spend years chasing success, not because it brings them joy or meaning, but because society, family, or peers have pressured them into believing that certain achievements define their worth. They run after money, titles, and recognition only to discover later that even after reaching the top, they feel empty inside. Purpose, on the other hand, gives meaning to every effort, no matter how big or small. When you work with purpose, even the hardest struggles feel worthwhile because you know you are contributing to something beyond yourself. Pressure makes you live to prove others wrong. Purpose makes you live to prove yourself right. Pressure says, you must be like them. Purpose whispers, Be who you are meant to be. The truth is, pressure drains you while purpose fuels you. It keeps you grounded during failure and humble during success. Think about people who dedicate their lives to helping others, inventing solutions, or creating art. They may face enormous challenges, yet they persist because their actions are guided by something greater than external validation. Purpose allows you to endure storms that pressure alone would crush you under. It connects your daily habits, your struggles, and your victories to a larger vision, making the journey itself meaningful, not just the destination. Success without purpose is like climbing a ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. But success with purpose is like climbing a ladder that takes you exactly where your soul was meant to go. When you align your goals with your inner calling, you no longer feel the constant weight of comparison or the anxiety of living up to someone else's definition of success. Instead, you wake up every day with clarity and peace, knowing that even the smallest action contributes to a bigger picture. Purpose makes success sustainable because it transforms it from being about personal gain to being about personal growth and contribution. That is why, in the end, it is not pressure that creates true achievement, but purpose. For purpose turns ordinary lives into extraordinary legacies. Gratitude is power because it shifts the way you see everything in life. So many people chase success believing it will finally bring them happiness, yet they overlook the blessings they already hold in their hands. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you, it is about training your heart to focus on abundance rather than scarcity. When you cultivate gratitude, even in small things, you begin to realize that life has already given you more than enough to start your journey. A grateful mind is never poor because it sees opportunity where others see obstacles. Gratitude turns struggles into lessons, failures into stepping stones, and ordinary days into gifts. Without gratitude, even success feels empty because the more you achieve, the more you crave, never feeling satisfied. But with gratitude, even small victories bring joy, and even in moments of loss, you find peace knowing that life is still offering you something to grow from. It is gratitude that keeps you humble when success comes and hopeful when challenges arrive. It teaches you to see your journey not only as a pursuit of goals, but as a privilege, an opportunity to live, to learn, and to give. The truth is, a grateful person is a magnetic person because gratitude attracts positivity, kindness, and even greater blessings. When you live with gratitude, people are drawn to your presence because they feel the lightness of your spirit and the authenticity of your joy. Gratitude is also the root of resilience because when storms hit, a grateful heart can still say, even though this hurts, I still have reasons to keep going. It is not the happy people who are grateful. It is the grateful people who become happy. And happiness is not only an emotion, but a fuel that energizes your pursuit of success. Without gratitude, success will always feel like chasing shadows, but with gratitude, every step of the journey feels meaningful. That is why gratitude is not a minor quality, it is a powerful force that transforms both your perspective and your path, ensuring that success, whenever it comes, is not just external achievement, but also inner fulfillment. Legacy is greater than achievement because while achievements may bring you recognition for a moment, Legacy keeps your name alive long after you are gone. Achievements are often measured in trophies, titles, money, or positions, but these things fade with time. The medal you win will one day collect dust. The money you accumulate will be spent or forgotten, and the positions you hold will be taken by someone else. But legacy is different. It is the impact you leave on people's lives, the values you instill in others, and the inspiration that continues to live on even when you are no longer present. Legacy is not built in one big act. It is built in the small choices you make every day, in the kindness you show, in the integrity you practice, and in the way you uplift others. People may forget what you achieved, but they will never forget how you made them feel, how you helped them grow, or how you inspired them to believe in themselves. Legacy is about planting seeds in gardens you may never see, knowing that the shade of those trees will bless future generations. It is not about how much you gained in life, but about how much you gave. True success is not measured by applause, but by the ripple effect you leave behind in the hearts and minds of others. Think of the great thinkers, teachers, and leaders of history. Their legacies live on not because of their possessions, but because of the ideas, the courage, and the compassion they shared. Your legacy is being written every day by the way you live. And the question is not whether you will leave one, but what kind of legacy it will be. Will it be one of selfishness and regret, or one of inspiration and service? Achievements may give you comfort in your lifetime, but legacy gives meaning to your lifetime and beyond. That is why focusing on legacy over mere achievement transforms the way you pursue success, because it lifts your vision from temporary gain to eternal impact. Success is not an event that happens suddenly one morning when you wake up. It is the outcome of the countless invisible choices you make every single day. Too often people look at someone who has achieved greatness and think it came overnight. But what they don't see are the years of discipline, the early mornings, the late nights, the sacrifices, the moments of doubt, and yet the determination to rise again and again. It is easy to admire the fruit of someone's labor without realizing the unseen roots that nourish that success deep underground. Every habit you cultivate, every thought you entertain, every action you repeat is like planting a seed. Some seeds grow fast, others take years before they sprout, but if you consistently plant the right seeds and nurture them with patience, the harvest is guaranteed. This is why it is so important to work on yourself daily. Age does not matter, because the principle remains the same whether you are young or old. If you dedicate yourself to daily growth, your future will bloom. Just as a river carves valleys and shapes landscapes not in a day, but over centuries of continuous flow, your persistence, your discipline, and your refusal to give up will carve out your destiny. When you stop comparing your timeline with others and begin focusing on steady self-improvement, you realize that success is not a race. It is a journey of becoming the best version of yourself. Those who truly win in life are not the ones who sprint fast for a short while, but those who walk with commitment, purpose, and resilience every single day. If you fail today, use it as wisdom for tomorrow. If you feel weak, remember that even a small step forward is progress. Success belongs to those who keep showing up for themselves, no matter their age, no matter their situation, and no matter their past. Success is not a destination you stumble upon at a particular age, nor is it a gift given to some and denied to others. It is a lifelong journey that unfolds each day you decide to grow. The beauty of this truth is that whether you are in your youth, filled with energy and ambition, or in the later stages of life, rich with experience and wisdom, you still hold the power to shape your tomorrow. Every sunrise carries with it a fresh opportunity to redefine yourself, to learn something new, to improve in even the smallest ways, and those little improvements add up to remarkable transformations over time. Too often, people delay their growth, thinking they are too young to begin or too old to make a difference. But both thoughts are equally limiting because time is not the barrier, it is how we use it. Success honors consistency, not excuses, and life rewards the person who decides to take action regardless of their circumstances. Imagine if you treated each day like a blank canvas and your actions, your thoughts, your choices were the strokes of paint that shaped it. What masterpiece could you create by the end of the year, the decade, or your lifetime? The greatest investment you can ever make is not in wealth, fame, or possessions, but in yourself, because what you become determines what you attract. Read to expand your mind, exercise to strengthen your body, meditate to calm your spirit, and serve others to enrich your soul. These daily acts compound into something extraordinary. Discipline may feel difficult in the moment, but it becomes your best friend when you look back and realize that each disciplined step carried you closer to your dreams. Success has no age, but it does have a price, the price of perseverance, of faith, of humility, and of refusing to give up no matter how long it takes. When you understand this, you stop comparing your journey with others because you realize that everyone's timeline is different and your season of success will come if you nurture it with patience and persistence. Remember that no failure is final and no victory is small. Every lesson carries you forward. Surround yourself with people who push you to be better. Avoid those who drain your energy, and focus on building a life of meaning rather than just achievement. At the end of the day, success is not about how much applause you receive or how much wealth you accumulate, but about how much you grow, how much you give, and how much peace you carry in your heart. Whether you start today or you started yesterday, the path is open to you. The question is whether you will walk it with courage and commitment. When you truly understand that failure is not the opposite of success, but an inseparable part of it, your whole perspective on life begins to shift. Too often we are conditioned to believe that failure is shameful, that it is proof we are not good enough, that it is a sign we should stop trying. But in reality, failure is the silent teacher standing beside every successful person you admire, every innovator, every leader, every artist, every spiritual guide. None of them reached where they are without falling, without stumbling, without feeling the weight of defeat at some point in their lives. And yet, what separated them from the rest of the world was not that they avoided failure, but that they embraced it, learned from it, and used it as fuel to rise stronger. Think about this carefully. When a child is learning to walk, he falls again and again. But do we tell that child, maybe walking isn't for you? No, we smile, we encourage, we clap at the tiny steps, And we know with certainty that falling is just a stage in the process of learning to walk. Why then, when we grow up, do we stop applying that same logic to ourselves? Why do we take one failure in business, one failure in relationships, one failure in health, and assume that we are finished? Failure doesn't declare that your journey is over. It declares that you are still on the journey, that you are learning something new, that you are being shaped into someone stronger than before. It is not failure that defines us. It is our response to it. Some people allow failure to break them, but the wise allow it to build them. Every setback is a message. It whispers, "This method didn't work, but you are capable of finding another way." It reminds us that progress is not always a straight line. It is filled with detours, obstacles, and lessons that can only be learned through experience. Failure has within it the seeds of humility, the seeds of resilience, and the seeds of wisdom. If you water those seeds with reflection, patience, and perseverance, you will reap the harvest of success that is far deeper and more meaningful than instant victories. So when you face failure, do not be discouraged. Instead, ask yourself, what is life trying to teach me here? How can this pain be turned into purpose? How can this lesson prepare me for the next step? The truth is, the people who never fail are the ones who never try, and the people who fail and rise are the ones who inspire the world. Remember, success does not belong to those who avoid falling. It belongs to those who fall, rise, and keep walking until the finish line.